All right, we're starting here. Once more for the recording, we are here with Daniel, who's the author of ZIO OpenAI. And yeah, we're about to dive in and kind of play with the library a little bit. So let me share my screen here. And let me make this bigger. All right, can everyone see this okay? Look good from your end, Daniel?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, cool. So all I've done here is I've just added a new project here, and I'm just depending on ZIO and depending on version 0.1.0 of ZIO OpenAPI. I think there was some question this morning of whether
it's OpenAI, not OpenAPI. You made the same
sorry. No, I totally made the same mistake. But I think we had some question whether it got published in Maven, but I definitely have it working. So at least on some Maven server somewhere, it exists. And then I started off by just copying the example from the quick start here. And maybe before we even run this, let me actually do one more screen share. And I want to just show you one other thing. Let me see if I can get. Yeah, hold on a sec. So one of the things I thought was particularly cool about this is, I went here, and one nice thing was, despite being a new library, it actually has some documentation that describes how you can use it, which was lovely for me this morning. But in particular, it's got this bit down here, which talks about how it uses ZIO's built-in configuration system, which was something Dan had significant input in developing. So I think that's cool. But it's actually really nice here, where basically what it's going to do is, as Daniel mentioned, like to use this thing, I have to have an API key for this, and I can just get one for free. So I think I already had one. But obviously, for every call I do, I'm going to need to provide this like API key, and I need to like get it from somewhere and somehow get it in my application. And this will basically almost make it automatic for me, where as long as I have either an API environment variable that's called OpenAI API key, and I'm going to try to be good about keeping my AI and my API separate here, or I have a system property that's OpenAI API key, then it's going to get loaded automatically from here. And so we'll see in a sec when I do this, it's basically just going to work. So I think that's one thing, if you haven't checked it out, it's one of the cool features in the last couple of ZIO 2 releases, and there's more stuff coming for that. Afzal, who's the author of ZIO config, is I think has just merged, is about to merge, kind of big PR to have a bunch of like config backends that you can plug in with this. So if you want to do like Hokan or every possible config thing you could do under the sun, you'll have that. But here we're just using these simple ones like environment variables with some properties, but it does make it super nice to do that. So I was enjoying that this morning and thought I would share that. So I've so far all I've done is I've got my environment variable. I did it as environment variable, so I just have it as that OpenAI key. OpenAI API key, yes. And I've just added this, and I started off just copying down the quick start here. And so let's maybe just walk through this together. So we're just extending ZIO app default, which is the usual thing we're going to want to extend whenever we want an app. And then our run method is down here, and it's just going to call this loop thing. And then it's going to provide it with this completion service, which is coming from ZIO OpenAPI. And I guess if Metals is working ideally, I would be able to click through here, but I can't. So maybe this could also be documentation for potential Metals issues. But so I think this is coming from ZIO OpenAPI. So this I'm getting through this import here. And then this loop.
It would be nice if you could go to the definition, because it also has scaled up on all the methods and data types.
Okay, let me try to import my build, and then maybe we can try to replicate other steps in doing this. But meanwhile, if we kind of go through the logic and loop here, let's see, is that, let me cancel. Wow. Yeah, this is, all right, I'm gonna try to do the, oops, did I just listen more than I wanted to? Yes, I don't want to delete don't delete that. Okay, let's see, we can now import it from. Okay, so this may just not be happening for me. All right, so we'll go back to our thing. Maybe I'll try. Yeah, okay. All right, so yeah. Okay, so maybe after this we can go back to the web for a second, look at that. But if I just walk for a minute through what this is doing, so we're gonna, I think this little thing that's gonna have great animal superhero names from the original documentation from the OpenAI site. So we're gonna ask the user for an animal name, and then we're gonna call this create completion method that's being exposed by the completion service. And we've got some kind of domain specific parameters here. I think they have some different models. This is the model we're using. The prompt is kind of what we're writing to the chatbot. And then the temperature, I think this, if I remember reading it correctly, is kind of how daring versus conservative we want the AI to be, and kind of the guesses it makes. So I think 1 is like, be very daring, of kind of try different things. And like 0 is like, be conservative, like just give me your kind of highest probability response there. So it gets some details there of how we're running it. And then this is giving us a ZIO effect. And so this is being done asynchronously, because I think one thing, if you've used the actual chatbot, or if we use this one, we'll see in a sec, is there's a little bit of a lag time while it does this. I'm sure if we paid them more money, they would reduce that lag time for us. And then it's gonna just print this message out. So let's try this. So I'm gonna run this. Oh, I'm gonna reload this. Let's see. Oh, and then I'll go to project ZIO OpenAI demo. And then let's run this. All right, so it's gonna ask me for an animal name. Does anyone have an animal name? If they wanna, maybe in the chat, you wanna type in an animal name, and I will quickly look and see what animal names people want to do here. Oh, okay, no one has animal. Oh. No, sorry. We usually do chat through the Discord. Let me actually grab that for everyone. Hold on one sec. Yeah, we do the chat through Discord, just so it's kind of around a little bit longer. So if anyone has follow-up stuff, they can kind of ask that question there. So let me just paste that here. Chat. There's a link for that. All right, so let me go back here. So I think someone said armadillo. So let's do armadillo. And so what it's doing here is it's just taking that armadillo and it's basically just adding it to this thing. So this is what we're telling. We're saying suggest 3 names from animals to superhero. And it says it can be the Armored Avenger, the Shell Shocker, or the Unstoppable Armadillo, which I think those are pretty good ones. And then it's just gonna loop forever. So I could do like, I don't know what's another one, Dolphin. And it's gonna be Aqua Defender, the Super Splash, or Flipper, the Hero. Now, I think one thing I did notice with this is it seemed like the interruption was a little bit. Oh, no, that was fine there. I don't know what I was doing before, but all right. Shows what. Oh, yeah, that was a little bit weird. Okay, maybe. Yeah, there's something a little bit off there. So maybe that's something that.
It should work.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so there's a little bit something weird there, but that's fine. Let's see. Oh, let me just do. I think I had to upgrade my SBT version here. And so that's the basic functionality. Maybe let me switch over and let's go to just this site for a sec so we can click through to some of this stuff. Okay, so yeah, so let's look at what we've got here. So
yeah, you will not find the source code here. That's the problem. Because
it's not anywhere here.
No.
Oh, I see.
So you can only find that code generator itself and some shared classes for encoding and decoding stuff.
Is there a way we can look at like the Scala doc for it?
I don't know if it's published anywhere or not, but I can share my screen and go through it.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. All right, go ahead.
So just a second. Where is it? Can you see it?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I just opened the repo itself and compiled it. And if you do that, then the generated code is in SBT's source Spanish directory somewhere. So in the target.
Got it.
And so on.
All right, so maybe if I went there directly.
Yeah, so what I wanted to show earlier, that this is the completion service that we were using. It has generated Scala docs as well. It's also coming from the OpenAPI specification.
That's really cool because there are a lot of parameters here. It's good to have some documentation on them.
So I will just point out a few details of what kind of it generates. So this create completion method is not what we used, but this is what is coming from the OpenAPI specs directly. It has a single parameter, which is a data structure called create completion request. And it has all these parameters that we are using. It also has the docs here. For all these data types that is in the specification, we generate a case class if it's an object type, and a ZIO schema for them. This is, probably we didn't mention, but it's built on ZIO HTTP for calling the remote server. It's using ZIO schema and ZIO JSON for serialization, and using ZIO prelude for new types, and this optional thing that I will talk about.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you about that.
It's really using a lot of other ZIO libraries. It's trying to take everything from the available ecosystem. Yeah. So if we go back, what I wanted to show is that there is an alternative version of create completion for all the API calls which only have a single parameter, which is an object. I'm generating these flat version of the same code because it's just nicer to call with all the object properties added as parameters. One thing to notice is this optional, instead of using the option type, the built-in Scala option type. This is the same thing that is used in ZIO AWS and ZIO Kubernetes. It's now defined in ZIO Prelude. And it's really almost the same as the Scala option type, with one difference is that there is an implicit conversion from anything to option, like from type A to optional A. And because of that, you don't have to wrap all the parameters in a constructor like sum or present or whatever it's called. You can just, if we go back to that sample, as you can see, we could just pass all these three parameters, while model is a required one, but prompt and temperature were optional ones. So you don't have to write this. This is just a small convenience stuff that it was especially important for the Kubernetes library, because there everything was optional and you had to define these very large structures or hierarchies of data structures with lots of optional fields, and it just makes it more pleasant to use. What else? Yeah, there are constraint types in the specification. For example, this max tokens is numeric value, which has to be between -2 and 2. And for these, we are using ZIO Prelude's, was it called smart new types, or I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, so these are also generated. One interesting feature, I believe, is that, maybe not interesting, I think that's what people would expect, but in the OpenAPI definition, these are all, or most of these are inline. So for example, in all the endpoints where you have to specify a response format, which can be, this is for image generation, by the way, you can say you want to get a URL for the generated image, or you want to get the generated image as a base 64 field in a JSON. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that all these are duplicated everywhere in the API specification. So there is no single response format data type defined somewhere. But the code generator detects all those elements in the model which are structurally equal, and they moves them out to the top level. And so there is only one response format type in the generated library, which is shared by all the places where the same thing is used. I think it's a nice feature. Yeah, other than objects and new types, there are some more kind of data types, which I don't remember where we can find. Just a second. Yeah, one thing, it's file. There are some methods or endpoints in this API which are requiring you to upload files. I'm not that familiar actually with OpenAI, but I think one of them is uploading an image and it makes a modification to the image, which I think is in is this edits, or in the images, or either the edits or the images API. And another is that you can upload these fine-tune JSON files, which is something for training your AI model, but I cannot really tell more about that. But there is a built-in data structure called file for this, which is just the data and the file name, because it turns out that the file name is really important for the OpenAI API. If you don't specify in your upload the proper file name with the proper extension, then it gives you very strange errors.
Good to know.
Yeah, so what else? Yeah, so these are all the data models that are used in this library. And these are the services which are following the recommended ZIO2 service pattern, which is just that. Let's see the completions again. We have a trait called completions with these two versions of the, I think this service only provides a single endpoint, which is the create completion. Yeah, and then we have the companion object with two layer definitions. The default one, which is used in the example that Adam showed, it doesn't have any dependencies, so that's a good way to get started with the library. It uses the default ZIO HTTP client, and it gets the token from the configuration, as Adam already said. And there is another version of the layer, which is just getting the ZIO HTTP client as a requirement. And you can use this if you already if you're already using ZIO HTTP and you have a client in your environment, then you can reuse that. You don't have to create a separate one, but it doesn't really matter, I think. Okay, and yeah, and we are generating these accessor methods as well. So you can write completions.create completion and then provide the layer later. And then finally, the implementation is somewhere here. Yeah, there is a live class in each of these API classes, which is using ZIO HTTP client to build a request and uses ZIO schema to encode and decode the JSON responses. It uses this binary codex type, which we added in a recent ZIO schema version, which is basically an interesting thing. You list all the types you want to use in the type parameter. Here we want only two, the create, completion, request, and the response. But we could list many of them. And in compile time, this will capture the schemas and codecs for all these types. And then you can use the codex, this codex value to encode and decode those types, but those types only. So this is a way to capture these implicit schemas and implicit JSON codecs into one single value that you can pass around. Yeah, I don't know what else should we show. Oh yeah, there are other examples as well. Maybe we can try some others.
Yeah.
There is an examples directory. I give back the screen to you.
All right, sounds great. Let me share the screen. All right, cool. So that was great. And yeah, I think one of the most impressive things about this is just how it's like automatically generated. And is that true for like the use of like the new types and things like that as well? Is that also from the specifications, or did you layer that on top?
Yeah,
wow.
That's all generated. There is nothing only handwritten thing is that file type that I showed, and and some things that are like multi-part form encoding, but even those will be moved out from this library and moved to ZIO HTTP eventually, or will be implemented there in a different way. But basically, the idea is that you don't really write anything by hand. And I hope that I can make this code generator more support more real-world examples, and then it can be used for generating other similar client libraries with the same capabilities.
Yeah. Is it the same one right now for like this and the Amazon stuff, or is it kind of customized for each and has to be generalized?
This is a custom code generator, but I mean, I wrote it from scratch, but it's for OpenAPI, which is used in many. Yeah, exactly. In the world. The AWS library is not generated from OpenAPI. They has their own
Oh, of course
format.
they do. Yep.
Now they are also using Smithy, but I'm not. I'm using the old one, which is something specific to AWS. I don't know. I don't think it has a name.
Yep. Cool. Well, yeah, I think maybe one thing to get us started is maybe we can make just like a little bit of a console version of this that'll just kind of interactively let us like kind of type things and get responses, and then maybe we can go from there to doing one of the fancier examples if we have time. But yeah, let me maybe try to make my own file here.
Yeah, I think another example that in the end we can show is the image generator. It's because that looks nice.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
Or maybe we can somehow connect the two, like make it generate some text and then generate an image for it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Okay, so I'm going to do my own ZIO app default. I am going to grab some imports. And I'll do this. So yeah, maybe let's have just some kind of loop here. And so maybe it's going to print line. Maybe let's just give this a little bit of prompt. Oh, or actually we could do our little read line thing because now that has a prompt. So this will be like input. And then if we've got that, then you look at that. So we'll use that.
OpenAI is writing a code to communicate.
I know, exactly. It's very, yeah, it's like Skynet is coming. And then let's print that out. And actually, maybe let's do a little let me do something like yeah, that's fine. And then when we're done with this, we'll just first here, and technically if we wanted to do this with very deep recursion, we won't want to do this because this has this last map, so this is not effectually tail recursive, but we're not going to do enough completion requests for that to matter. So let's just try this. We can be a little bit more interactive here. Oh,
and there are some types which are nested into
I think we can.
In other objects because, as I said, it's all a recursive definition of the types, and those that cannot be shared are moved in or are defined in the companion objects of their parents.
Right. And then we need a completion request. So let's see, where would the completion request be defined? Let's generate prompt. Say prompt. Maybe I can just do prompt dot string.
Yeah, because there are multiple. Yeah, that's the thing that I didn't show. That these are called I don't know what they are called, but it's in the Open API. It looks like one off, and it lists several alternatives. And for example, it can accept a single string or an array of strings, and then I'm generating this sum type out of them.
Got it. Okay, and right, and then we need to actually just provide this with our completions default. Let's see. Oh, this is. Oh, this is a open API. It's called OpenAI error, OpenAI exception.
Or failure.
Uh-huh.
Then it's failure. I don't remember.
All right, well then I'll just type it as any. All right, so let's do this example. Oh, that's. Oh, I think I know what's going on. What is ZIO? Interesting. And this is, I guess, does this give me just the first one?
I don't know. It has a lot of parameters. This create completion function, maybe something to control how big output you want, or I don't know. As I said, I don't really know how to use OpenAI. I just
All right, let's try. No, that's not a. Okay. This is where I'm really wishing that Metals was working for me here.
It works well in IntelliJ, by the way.
Maybe I should. Let's see. I don't know if I have.
While writing the example codes, it was really.
I imagine it's
imported and everything was.
No, I'm sorry. I know. I'm definitely. This is a Metals issue. This is not an issue with your library here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think I can get IntelliJ live for us here. All right, so maybe I'll just try. So yeah, why don't we see if we can do this image one? And I'm wondering, can I figure out in here where those generated classes got generated?
No, because it's not generating it for your project. It's generating when you are building ZIO OpenAI itself, and it's pegged into the jar. So if you go to the definition, then you would see the source code, but you can copy the image example from the website. That's
yeah. Really cool. Let me do that. Let me do that. All right, I'll be back in a second. I'll just share my screen for doing this. Hold on a sec. It's like real-time problem solving here. So let's see. So let's do ZIO API. AI. So I think
there is an example sub-project somewhere.
Oh, example structure. There we go.
Yeah, here it is.
All right, so let's look at this image one.
Yeah, I think this is the one that generates image from a prompt, so that's nice.
All right, well, that'll be a fun one. Yeah, let's do this one. All right, so another. Do a new share. Okay. So let's just walk through this one, see what this is going to do. So we're providing the images service. So this is like the completion service. This is another service that's being exposed by ZIO AI that's going to let us call these methods. And it looks like what we're doing is, well, right now, we're going to ask it to create an image of a cute baby sea otter. Well, that does sound like a fun thing to look at. And we're going to ask for the actual file back. We're going to tell it the size. And then I think maybe, maybe this is how many pictures we want. And then for each of them, we're going to decode it. And we're going to write it. Okay, so let's try this. So run image. Okay. Those are some pretty cute baby sea otters. That is pretty cool there. So maybe, yeah, maybe we can take that and we can use that to make our example more interesting here. So maybe let's go to the, yeah, maybe let's try to just supplement this a little bit. So what if we took some of our looping logic here and we brought it into here. Now this is going to use the image service instead of the completion service. So we'll read a line.
It's
then,
called image.
Oh, images, right? Yep. And then, let's see, do I have that? This is image, it's the images service. Okay, good. All right, so this will be, oops. All right, so this images, so we'll get the input and then maybe we can change all of this to just call create image from prompt. We'll just take the prompt as an input. All right, so let's, and maybe we'll get rid of these, as beautiful as they are. And maybe we also, maybe let's make this like loop, just so we don't overwrite our files. And so we'll call this maybe 2. Then we'll pass this in. See, how is it where we index here? Okay. Okay, we'll just do index plus that. And then we'll call this thing. Well, file. Oh, station. This. Thoughts. Ooh. What happened there?
You must provide a prompt.
Yeah, I feel like it was a little bit eager in reading the console input from me. So, must provide a prompt. Let's not worry about the Xing.
Yeah, the OpenAI error messages are not really good. That's my experience. So sometimes it was, for example, really hard to figure out why the image upload was not working. It was saying, it was lying, like saying that I didn't pass the parameter when I did, or and stuff like that. When it was only, the real problem was that, I don't know, the file name didn't have a proper extension or something like that, but it was saying that the whole thing is missing and so on.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that it's not like there is a missing prompt, maybe it's too short, or I don't know, anything is possible.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay, so maybe let's, yeah, I wonder if there's something with just SPT and running an SPT shell with a console input is not working. Okay, well, let's just put in some data then. Yeah, that's, so why don't we then, all right, let's just do, let's go the easy way. Let's just do, we can just create whatever we want to. So let's have some fun. Let's create some, what are some fun images that people want to, okay, a cat. No, a dog is boring. A happy and productive ZIO developer. What's the third one that's fun? Beautiful.
You have two lists. After in line 38.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. All right. Did not do as well with those. I got some nice beaches. Very cool. Let's see. Let me just check in on the Discord here, see if anyone has anything they want to ask. Oh yeah, I needed to. Yeah, if I didn't want this to overwrite it, that's right. I need to. Yeah, we could make this like. Maybe it's times 2. And then. Those cats look kind of angry, don't they? That's not like a happy cat. I don't know why they seem to think like ZIO means like Simpsons character or like Lego character. It's like very interesting. But it's super. This technology to do this AI stuff is just super impressive, and it's really cool to have a library like this to make it really easy to interact with it. So hopefully to do maybe more productive things than we are with just playing with generating cat images. Does anyone else have any questions for Daniel about this this library or how he put it together? Let's see, let me play out somewhere else. I wonder, what if we say, and then we can probably play with some of these. I wonder if this takes a parameter for that temperature as well. I guess if Metals was working for me, I would be able to answer that question with doing something other than just putting it in here, but I guess we'll find out. Looks like no. Or maybe let me bring in some more inputs. Looks like no temperature. No temperature. Let's just say what if happy versus not happy cancel. Huh. I feel like those cats are more sleepy versus happy. Let's see. All right, so happy, angry, fair. Yeah. Very impressive.
Well,
very cool.
They are all cats at least, so.
No, they're all cats. I mean, I think the angry ones are angrier than the happy ones. So yeah, I gotta give OpenAI credit for this. Yeah, that looks like very they look very, very real. So it's very impressive technology. So yeah, maybe so I guess we've got images, we did the prompts. Let's maybe just briefly go back to the page and let's just look at and see what the other examples we got here. So we can do images, we can do prompts. Okay, so we can just save the files.
This is the API for uploading some training data or something. I don't know the details.
Yeah.
I was just testing that all those like multi-part form uploads are working with it. It's from the website, but I don't really know how.
And then we can ask it to generate variations of an image. That's cool. It's so easy to do. I'm like tempted to do all these things.
Yeah, there is a ZIO PNG in the libraries repo, which can be used to try this out.
Oh, nice.
It generated some weird things out of the ZIO logo for me. I think it's funny.
Okay, let's see it try. So
it has to be a square image, so the best if you either use one of those that we just generated, or you can download that file from the repo.
Oh yeah, I can use one of these. So let's go to this one. So Let's see. Okay, so I should be able to do result image 0.png, and then maybe I'll delete these other three.
You are showing your browser and not the.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to do result image 0. And maybe let me change this. I'll call this rename. Oops. Rename happy cat. And then we will generate images like happy cat. On this. I mean, they are very similar.
What I think there was also a prompt for it, right? How does it work? I don't remember.
Oh, let me see. Maybe I didn't do it.
I think you have to tell it what to do with the images.
Let's say, what's it doing here? So image.
Or maybe I was. No, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think it's just doing variations on this one.
Yeah, right.
So we got that. Let's just briefly go back to the examples, just see what else we can do with this. So we can do image variation. Oh, I think maybe image editing is the one you're thinking of. Let's
Yeah,
that's have a prompt. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's try this one. So it's copied. I'll do a new share. All right, so we'll start with happy cat and angry cat. Ooh, exception.
Maybe it has to be PNG.
Oh,
it is a PNG. Then I don't know.
Format must be in RGBA, LA, or L. Got RGB.
I don't know. You can use the OPNG if you want. That works from the OpenAI repo.
Yeah, is it? It's... I'll just copy that. Hold on one second. Just copy this. Okay. All right, so we got our ZIO logo. And I think here we said we're gonna make ZIO logo with a dog. Let me make sure. Okay, great.
You need to change the file name as well.
Oh, thank you. We can call the ZIO page. That's I feel like it's not very good with like, I feel like these AIs in general, they're not good with text in images. Like they're good with just like chatting and doing text, but if you put text in images, it kind of just thinks they're random shapes. It doesn't kind of understand that they're actually like words with a significance. But it definitely got the concept of a dog there, and this one That's maybe a little bit more of this. But anyway, we're at time here. So thanks so much, everyone, for coming. And thank you, Daniel, for joining us. It's really impressive how, I mean, clearly all the functionality of this API, which is pretty powerful, is exposed through this library. And I think we saw how we can access it in a really ZIO idiomatic way, where we got layers and we got accessors and we've got environment types and type errors, and we've got kind of everything that we want. And I mean, really, even just for this, there's a ton that's being done behind the hood to make this happen. We talked about the fact that it's like loading the configuration for you, but it's also like creating the HTTP server for you or client for you and interacting with this API. So there's a ton going on behind the hood to make this happen. And I think this is kind of exactly where we need to be like going. We want to do fun stuff. Like we want to use this AI stuff and build other things on top of it. And we don't want to worry so much about like the details of how we're doing the HTTP calls or how we're loading the configuration stuff. And so like, I think this is like amazing of giving you like some very basic, like, okay, you got to have your API key here, but when you do that and you just get to have everything go for you. And then when you need to, you have the ability to customize like you want to. Like we saw, you could plug this in with your existing client if you didn't want to just have this generate its own. So it's really cool. And it's really cool how this is like automatically scalable in how this is generated. So thanks so much for coming and sharing this.
Thanks.
All right. Well, take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Bye.